Hi, first grade.
Hello, first grade,
This is Mrs. Kunda,
and Mr. DeStefano.
and we are here with our tropical rainforest habitat part 2 lesson.
Wow, Mrs. Kunda, I'm really excited to go back to the rainforest. I just find the rainforest so interesting.
Me too, Mr. DeStefano. And you know what's exciting is today we're going to learn about some new animals.
Wow, that's great. Last time we learned about the plants in the rainforest, and today we're learning about animals of the rainforest.
Wow, I can't wait to see what adaptations these animals have.
Yeah, I'm interested to find out myself.
As always, first grade, we want to remind you that we miss you so much.
Yeah, but we're glad that you're here listening to listen and learn with us today and continuing your learning at home.
Yes, we are very proud of you for continuing your learning at home.
Okay, so again, we're learning about the rainforest. The rainforest is a real place. So this text that we're listening today is nonfiction. Remember, nonfiction texts or nonfiction stories are stories or texts that teach, inform, and explain real things. And as I've mentioned before, as you can tell from the two visuals on the page here, many times, but not always, nonfiction texts have real pictures and
Mhm.
real diagrams and things like that to help you to understand the text better. But as you see on the right side, they do also sometimes contain drawings.
We're going to see a lot of real pictures today. All right, but before we hop into any of our new pictures, we do want to review some of our vocabulary.
Okay, so our first word is canopy. The canopy is the top layer of the forest formed by the branches and leaves at the tops of the trees. The canopy of the forest shades the plants and animals below. So as you can see, the canopy, it looks like all the leaves from the trees are all touching each other. Almost if you're standing down below looking up, it kind of looks like there's a roof over your head made of leaves. But it's very hard, difficult for the sunlight to get in. And so that's called the canopy.
Our next word is humid. So you hear this a lot when you're listening to the weather, especially in the summertime. But humid is wet and damp, containing a high amount of water or water vapor. So the sentence example is the air is often sticky and humid on a hot summer day. So on those humid days, that's where you're outside and you just feel really sticky and warm. That's a humid day.
And our next word is colonies. Colonies are a group of the same kind of animals or plants living and growing together. So if you look at the picture, you see ant colonies living on those ant hills. It says there were several ant colonies in his backyard. So an ant colony is a group of ants that all live and grow together.
Our next word is dense. So if something is dense, it's thick. So the rainforest is very dense or thick because of the many plants that grow and live close together there. So if you go to the rainforest, it's a very dense forest. Like you wouldn't be able to see very far out in front of you because there's just so many plants and leaves and trees. I mean, the rainforest is beautiful. There's definitely a lot to see, but it's very thick.
And our last word is patterns. Patterns are shapes or designs that repeat. So if you look at the checkerboard has a pattern of a red square and then a black square and then a red square and a black square. Um, it is fun to find patterns in artwork.
All right, listen for those vocabulary words as we read today, first grade. All right, and as always, we want to introduce today's journal response. So today we want you to pick your favorite rainforest animal. So we're going to introduce you to a few of them. We want you to pick your favorite. And then tell us, how does this animal adapt to life in the rainforest? So a sentence starter you may use is my favorite animal is. And you could also use it adapts by. And we cannot wait to hear your responses, first grade. We love hearing from you, and we love hearing about how great of a listener you have been. We're so proud of you.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out what their favorite rainforest animal is and what they learned about it.
I would love that. You know what I'd even love too, Mr. Stefano, is if they added a beautiful picture to their writing piece. I love when they do that.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that would
Uh,
be really fun too to draw as well as do your writing.
yes, it would. And to see what their pictures of the rainforest might look like. I just love that. But all right, so I know that we had been recently talking about a deciduous forest, and last time I reminded you that we're going to be talking about a different kind of rainforest that's located by the equator, and this is called the tropical rainforest. So I want you to remember that this is actually located, the rainforest we're visiting today is located on a continent called South America. And the rainforest is very big. If you remember, it covers 1.4 billion acres. That's a lot of land. In fact, it actually covers 9 countries. But you'll find most of the rainforest in the country of Brazil.
Okay, here we go. So last time we learned about plants in the rainforest, there are also many different kinds of animals that call the Amazon rainforest home. Many types of interesting and colorful birds, frogs, insects, reptiles, and other animals live in the trees and other plants of the tropical rainforest. These huge toucans use their large beaks to cut fruit from branches and to eat lizards as well as other birds. Macaws, which are a kind of parrot, travel in groups and use their hooked beaks to break into hard nuts and fruits. You don't want to get too close to the poison arrow frog, which has poisonous skin to protect it from its predators. Remember, predators are animals that are trying to eat it. So here we've already learned about some adaptations. The poison arrow frog has the poisonous skin to keep away its enemies. The macaws have their hooked beaks that help them to break in the hard nuts and fruits. And the toucans have large beaks to cut fruit from branches and to eat lizards and other birds.
All right, I think this next animal is a favorite of ours, Mr. DeStefano.
Definitely.
I'm back in the kapok tree, one of the very tallest trees in the forest, to see what kinds of animals call this habitat home. Over there, I can see a squirrel monkey. The squirrel monkey is a very friendly little animal, and it shares a lot of things in common with the squirrels that live in the temperate deciduous forests. The squirrel monkey is very small and has a very long, thin tail that it uses to help keep its balance. It has strong legs that it uses to jump and run, and claws which help it climb up and down trees and vines. In fact, squirrel monkeys are so good at traveling by leaping and running along branches that they hardly ever touch the forest floor. Wow. So this squirrel monkey has a lot of adaptations to help it survive in this tropical rainforest. If you remember, it's very small. It has a long, thin tail. Can you see the tail? That long, thin tail is there to help the monkey keep balance. I mean, I suppose you'd have to have really good balance if you're hopping from tree to tree.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think we read about other animals, I think maybe in the deciduous forest, that also had tails that they used for balance too. So that's interesting.
It is interesting.
The squirrel monkey is an omnivore. What does omnivore mean, everybody? That means it eats plants and animals. So the squirrel monkey eats insects, fruits, and flowers, and spends most of its time during the day moving around the forest to find food. The squirrel monkey has excellent eyesight, which is useful for finding small insects, fruit, and berries growing among the leaves of the tropical rainforest trees. So that eyesight is an adaptation that helps him to find food. Squirrel monkeys live in large groups, making it harder for their predators, eagles and snakes, to get to them. Now this monkey is acting a little strange, and experience has told me that this kind of behavior usually means there's trouble on the way. Aha, yes, look who's coming, some kind of snake. Snakes also tend to eat rats, so I'm going to climb a bit higher and take a look from a distance. Okay, so we also read about the squirrel monkey that they tend to live in groups, and that protects themselves. It helps to protect them from predators who might want to attack them to eat them.
Wow, that's a great way to adapt to help them to survive in the rainforest. All right, now we're hopping into a new animal. Wow, look at the size of this snake. This is a boa constrictor, one of many kinds of snakes that live in the Amazon rainforest. It's a pretty big snake. This one is about 13 feet long. Boas can have slightly different coloring and patterns on their skin, but they are well camouflaged in the trees, plants, and vines of the forest. So if you notice, take a look at the coloring of this snake. That coloring helps him to go through the forest without being seen. If you notice, he's green, just like the trees and all the plants around the rainforest. So he blends right in. So his prey, or the animals that he's trying to eat, won't be able to see him coming.
This boa constrictor, like all snakes, is a carnivore. What does carnivore mean? Carnivore means that it eats only animals. It eats other animals such as bats, which are its favorite food, rodents, yes, rats included,
Uh-oh.
lizards, birds, and even the small squirrel monkeys. The boa constrictor is mostly nocturnal. We learned that word. What does that mean? Nocturnal, night. So it comes out to hunt when it gets dark, like now. Snakes can eat animals that are much bigger than they are. The boa's jaws open very, very wide. So when it finds an animal to eat, even animals such as birds and squirrel monkeys, it will be able to swallow it whole.
My
So there's an
goodness.
adaptation that it can open its jaws very wide so that it can eat larger animals.
All right. Our next animal is a jaguar. So the boa constrictor is not the only carnivore in the rainforest. In fact, it will have to watch out that it doesn't become dinner for a hungry jaguar like this one. Jaguars look a lot like leopards. They have tan fur and with dark spots, but they are bigger than leopards, with shorter tails and legs and bigger heads and paws. This jaguar is about 7 feet long and probably weighs about 200 pounds.
Jaguars are very well adapted to living in the rainforest. They have very sensitive hearing and an excellent sense of smell. A jaguar can see very well during the day and at night. All these things make it easier for it to find, stalk, and catch its prey. So it's good hearing, its good sense of smell, and eyesight all help it find food, help it find its prey. I can barely hear the jaguar moving through the forest. That's because its paws are covered with very thick fur with pads on the bottom. Because they can travel so quietly, jaguars don't have to run far to catch their prey. So instead of having long legs for running, they have short, strong legs that are good for pouncing on other animals from the ground, from trees, or in the water. So there's some adaptations there. Their short, strong legs help them to pounce, and the paws being covered with thick fur means that they can run through the forest very quietly, and it's hard for the animals that it wants to catch to hear him. A jaguar spends most of the day resting and goes out to hunt at night. It's also very good at climbing trees, which means I should get out of here before it's able to sniff me out. I've moved to the bottom of the kapok tree onto the forest floor because there's one last very interesting animal I want to show you. We'd better hurry. It's getting dark, and I may have to use my flashlight to show you.
What's very interesting, Mr. Stefano, is even the smallest of animals have some adaptations to help them survive. We're going to be introduced to a very small animal right now. These. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Stefano.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's true. I can't wait to hear about this one, Mrs. Kanda.
I know, it's so interesting. Even the smallest animals have some adaptations. So these are leafcutter ants. These ants burrow underground and make nests in groups called colonies. Different ants in the colony have different responsibilities. There are worker ants, soldier ants, and their queen. The worker ants are traveling to the kapok tree nearby where they will use their sharp jaws to bite off pieces of the leaves to bring back the nest. You can see right here that these are worker ants and they are biting off pieces of those leaves and they are walking them back to the colony. Did you know that ants can carry up to 10 times their own body weight? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? The soldier ants are there to protect the worker ants on their way to and from the nest. These ants spend most of their lives working for food. Nature is amazing, isn't it? Well, it's really quite dark now and my fur has been sticking to me since we got here. So I think it's time for me to leave the hot and humid Amazon rainforest. We've learned a lot about this exotic habitat, its climate, and the plants and animals that have their homes here. Now, for somewhere really different. All right, boys and girls, so that's the end of our rainforest lesson. So we want to see what you remember from today's lesson. So turn those listening ears on and see if you can answer the questions along with us.
Okay, Mrs. Glenda, what animal is this?
Oh, Mr. Stefano, this is the squirrel monkey.
This was one of our favorites. What food does a squirrel monkey eat in the tropical rainforest?
Well, it eats insects, fruits, and flowers.
Is the squirrel monkey a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore?
Well, it eats plants and animals. So that would be an omnivore.
Where do you think the squirrel monkey might find shelter in the tropical rainforest?
In the trees. In fact, it spends so much time swinging from the trees up above that it rarely ever is on the forest floor. Mr. Stefano, what kind of animal is this?
This is a boa constrictor.
And what kind of food does the boa constrictor eat in the tropical rainforest?
It eats small animals.
Okay, so is the boa constrictor a carnivore, an herbivore, or an omnivore?
Well, since it only eats animals, it has to be a carnivore.
Where do you think this boa constrictor might find shelter in the tropical rainforest?
Maybe in the trees or maybe on the forest floor, maybe under some plants.
It certainly has a beautifully camouflaged scales on its body, so that blends right in.
Yeah, it'd be hard to see that boa constrictor if you're taking a walk through the rainforest.
It sure would. I would not want to come upon him.
Neither would I. What animal is this, Mrs. Konda?
Oh, that's a jaguar.
What food does a jaguar eat in the tropical rainforest?
Jaguars like to eat small animals.
So if it eats small animals, is it an herbivore, a carnivore, or an omnivore?
Ah, it's a carnivore. All right. So, Mr. Stefano, what adaptations does a jaguar have in order to live in a tropical rainforest?
Well, the jaguar has really good hearing, a really good sense of smell. Its paws are covered with thick fur, so it can hunt its prey without its prey hearing him coming. So those are some adaptations of the jaguar.
Wow, that jaguar.
So Mrs. Konda, how is the tropical rainforest that we learned about in these two lessons, how is it like a temperate deciduous forest that we learned about before?
Wow, that's a great question, Mr. Stefano. So both the tropical rainforest and the temperate deciduous forest have trees, and they're both home to many plants and animals.
How are they different?
Well, a tropical rainforest stays warm and wet and green all year round, where you wouldn't see that in temperate deciduous forest. Deciduous forest has those 4 seasons.
That's right. The deciduous forest has 4 seasons. That's right.
All right, first grade, so we're wrapping up our lesson, but before we go, we just want to remind you to pick your favorite rainforest animal and then tell us in a journal response, how does this animal adapt to life in the rainforest? And in red, we gave you some sentence starters that you're welcome to use. The first one says, my favorite animal is, and the second one says, it adapts by. And we would love to hear your responses, boys and girls. Send it to us in Dojo Messenger. You can answer down in the comments. We love seeing, especially getting pictures of your responses. And we'd love to see a picture too. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm really interested to find out which animal is everyone's favorite.
Me too, because there's a lot of really great animals that we heard about today. So I can't wait to see which one you liked best. Well, all right, first grade, that's enough. That's all the time we have for today. We miss you so much. We are so proud of how hard you are working, and we can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye, first grade.
Bye, first grade.